What is going on, everybody? After a little break, we are back to talk about some PGA DFS. I hope everyone had a good week at the Bay Current Classic. Ended up hitting Xander outright, ended up having him as a core play. So I had a really good week, one of my better weeks of 2025. So hoping to carry some of that momentum into this week's event, which is kind of in my backyard. It's going to be the Bank of Utah Championship in St. George. So it's at the Black Desert Golf Resort. It's a really cool course. I was able to play it a couple years ago and extremely wide off the tee. Some of the fairways here, 90 yards wide. There are a lot of blind tee shots, but as long as you know where you're hitting it, shouldn't be a big deal. The field hit 85% of the fairways here last year and 76% of the greens in regulation. So pretty open course. The greens here are pretty large, so guys are going to be able to hit the fairway, hit the greens. I will note that there's not a lot of rough on the course. And then after the rough, it's just volcanic rock. That's why it's called Black Desert. It's a lot of black rock all over the course. And it's going to lead to a lot of balls that get lost, a lot of unplayable lies. So a lot of times you're going to see golfers have to re-tee if they don't hit the grass off their tee shot, or they're going to have to take an unplayable. And so there's a lot of like two-stroke penalties essentially on this course, which is not the case at most venues. If you hit in the water, you get to drop up, where it went into the water. But if you lose your ball and you can't find it, you're going to have to re-tee. Same goes for your approach shot. We saw a lot of the second shots into some of these par fives, not make it on the grass. And then, so instead of hitting 2 into the green, you're hitting 4 into the green. That's really the main defense of the course. It's also exposed to the elements. So there's not a lot of trees. I don't think there's any trees on the property. So the wind definitely impacts golf more here than it does on most PGA Tour venues. But at the same time, it looks like the forecast is going to be pretty calm. Let me pull it up right now. I do have the Wind Finder link available in my PGA DFS First Look, which is always free for everyone. It has, course history, recent form, a little preview of the golf course, and then the weather forecast as well. So on Thursday, less than 10 mile per hour gusts all day. Friday, less than 10 mile per hour gusts. Saturday, less than 10 mile per hour gusts. On Sunday, we could see a little bit of rain or a little bit of wind in the afternoon, but doesn't look like that's going to be an issue. So I do think we're going to get very easy scoring conditions. Last year, we saw the winner, Matt McCarty, 23 under par, and we saw 45 golfers finish with the score of at least 10 under par. So you're going to have to hit the ball well, make putts, make birdies. That's really the name of the game here. You're going to have to avoid those big numbers that I talked about as well. And let me see if there's anything else on the course that I didn't mention. The course is 3,000 feet above sea level, so it's not going to play quite as far as the 7,400 yards on the scorecard. Many people are saying it's around 6,900 to 7,000 yards in actuality, so it's going to be very short for a par 72. And yeah, that should do it. So let's dive into the model for the week. Off the tee, I have it weighted at 9%. I have total driving at 6%. Strokes gain approach at 16%. I do have the strokes gain expected column back this week since we do have some data to work with from this course. What this does is takes a look at where golfers are expected to hit all of their approach shots based on their individual driving distances and how good they are from those approach shot distances. So at the very top, we have Martin Laird. It's probably going to be due to a very small sample size there. I don't think he's going to be the best iron player in the field this week, but I guess you never know. And he is very good at desert golf, so I will give him that. Tom Hoagie, number 2, very good iron player. Victor Perez, 3, who I love this week. Doug Gim, always a good ball striker. And then Steven Yeager, a guy that has kind of fallen off recently, but a couple years ago, we were playing this guy every week. 3% to tee to green, 3% to around the green. I don't mind not even including around the green this week. Again, with no wind, I think guys could hit 80% of the greens in regulation this week. So I don't think scrambling is going to be a huge factor on these very large greens. Strokes gain putting, I have at 8%. And this is actually supposed to say bent grass since this is bent grass greens. So guys that put the best on bent grass over the last 2 years. Vince Whaley, he's been playing pretty well recently. Taylor Montgomery, always a good putter. Jason Day, who I'm surprised is in the field, but I'm excited to see him teed up. Andrew Putnam and Pearson Coody. And then we have 3% to birdie or better, 3% to bogey avoidance. If you want, take out around the green, put it all into birdie or better. I think that might be the path that I take by the end of the week. Course history, only have it at 2%. You can take it out if you want. 1 year of data is not enough to really make a strong case about anyone in the field. If golfers haven't played here before, don't even worry about it. In terms of the miscellaneous comps this week, I'm looking at strokes gained on very easy courses. Kevin Roy, number 1, Kevin Yu 2, Davis Thompson 3, Alex Noren 4. Noren has been on a great run here, a couple wins recently. And then strokes gained in very weak fields. Thor Bjornsson, who's been playing well. Kevin Yu, who's one of my favorite tournament plays on the board. William Mao, who won at the ISCO recently. He's also played pretty well. He lost 5 strokes around the green and still finished T18 at the Bay Current Classic. So he's one of my favorite plays of the week. Rico Hoey, we'll talk about him in a minute. Also one of my favorite plays. And then Stephen Fisk, who just picked up his first win of his PGA Tour career. As always, you can play with the weights here. If you want more safety, bump up the top 25 percentile finish. If you want more upside, bump up the top 5% finish. Then we have raw strokes gain data, last 3 months, last 12 months, last 18 months. It's up to you how you want to divvy up that, whether you think long-term is more important, short-term is more important. That is what's great about the models. You can customize it to your liking. Once you decide on all your weights, once they equal, 100% in the model, you might not want to, distribute the weights the same way that I do, or even in as many categories as I do. Maybe you just want to look at off the tee approach and birdies, and then maybe do some top end finishes and last 3 months form, whatever it may be. You don't have to use every single column. You can just put some of these to 0 if you want. But then once you're done with the weights, this is available to RG premium members. So we'd love to have you as a premium member if you aren't already. Then you just come over here to this upload. It'll automatically adjust the fantasy points column here. Then you're going to copy these 3 columns into a new Excel sheet and then save it and upload it right into Lineup HQ. And you can use your own ratings to build lineups, which is really cool. Something that I love to do each and every week. Now, at the very top of the model, let's quickly go through. We have Kurt Kitayama, number 1. He did struggle a little bit at the Bay Current Classic, but he did gain 4.6 strokes on approach. So I just kind of think that's due to a long layoff. I think he's going to be fine this week. I love that he's number 1 on the model. Rico Hoey switched to a different putter. He's got 2 top 10s recently. One of my favorite plays on the board. Look, since switching to long putter, he's lost 4 strokes putting in these 3 events. Not great. But prior to that, he had lost 28 strokes putting in his previous 4 events. So, hey, he's improving. He's the best ball striker in the field. One of my favorite plays. I like Thor Bjornsson. I don't mind McNeely, but he is the most expensive golfer in the field, and he hasn't been good in weak field, and he hasn't been good on easy courses, which is a little surprising. He likes the tougher fields, more difficult courses. So something to keep in mind if you are going to play Mav McNeely. Again, love Kevin Yu. He's a bomber that makes a ton of birdies, makes a lot of sense at a course like this. Davis Thompson, Olesen, don't have a strong take on them. Noren doesn't project as well, but given the recent form, I'm certainly on board with playing him in any format. I just think I'm going to start in the 9s rather than in the 10s, at least when it comes to single entry and small field tournaments. Large field stuff, I'd probably still get some exposure to Alex Noren. McCarty's the defending champ, coming in at 8% ownership. I'll definitely be overweight on that. Victor Perez at 7,800, number 10 in the model, coming off of a T11 finish, one of my favorite plays on the board. He's a guy that his main weakness is around the green. Same with Carson Young. Everything else he does really well. So when it comes to a course where you can expect the guys to hit a lot of fairways and greens in regulation, I don't worry about around the green. So those guys that struggle to chip, Carson Young, Victor Perez, Luke Clanton, I think this is a great week to play them in DFS. And I actually bet Perez outright at 66-1 if anybody wants to join me there. Love Kevin Roy as well, above average in all 4 of the strokes gain metrics. He's been playing well this fall too. Smalley's a guy, I don't know. I mean, he coming off of a 4th place finish, but prior to that, he had been really bad for months at a time. So don't know what to do with him this week. Patrick Fishburne grew up in Utah, went to BYU. I know St. George is, 4 hours south of, the valley where I live and where, Fishburne grew up, but still home game narrative. And he's been playing some good golf recently. Game's a good ball striker. Cootie's flashed some upside recently. Again, I like William Mao quite a bit. Guy that has shown just a ton of upside. Mark Hubbard, good safe play. Hasn't shown a ton of upside, but he makes a lot of cuts. And, something that in a birdie fest, you're going to need all 6 of your guys through the cut if you want to have a chance to win these tournaments. Let's see if there's anybody else. Let's quickly sort by the rating per dollar, and then we will get out of here. Yeah, not a lot of other names. Lee Hodges, Rosenmuller, McGreevy. See if there's anybody else on FanDuel. Not really. So that will do it for this week. Want to say thank you to everyone for watching these videos each and every week. If you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button before you get out of here. Best of luck this week, and we'll catch you back here for the next PGA Tour event. Good luck, everybody.